Did you know that most SEO agencies are just wasting your money and taking advantage of the fact that you don't understand what SEO is? We're going to talk about how to find out what your SEO agency is actually doing. Join Nick, Rubright, and I now. Welcome everyone to a new edition of the Coach U Show. Today, we're going to talk about the SEO secrets that agencies don't want you to know. The ways that agencies will trick you because of all the different ways that you can manipulate the data. Today, we have Nick Rubright, who is a boss, and we've been talking on LinkedIn and talking before the show. He runs New Reach Agency, and we're going to go through some of these different ways that you can protect yourself. Welcome, Nick.
Oh, thanks, Dennis. Good to be here.
So let's talk about your background in SEO and how did you become an SEO and grow your agency to seven figures?
Yeah, so the becoming an SEO story is pretty much a story of my first company. When I was in college, I built a music streaming service, and we were competing with Spotify, and it was like not really big in America at the time, So I built the streaming app, went to record companies, and they were like, "We need $1 million if we're going to give you our music." And I was like, dude, I'm 19. I don't have $1 million. What? So, a lot of people would have gone the fundraising route, and, maybe I should have done that, but I kind of just decided I'm going to cold email a bunch of independent record companies and get licenses. So that was my first thing, cold emailing, and it worked. I got 1 in 10 responded. I got licensing deals from some record companies I respect. I got to talk to some really cool people, at Sony and EMI and stuff like that. So yeah. It was just really cool to see like outreach just kind of working, and after that, I kind of was like, man, I think if I can get a way to have artists come to me instead, that'd be cool, because then I wouldn't have to reach out on Facebook and email so much, So then it kind of became this, I kind of developed this inbound mindset where I'm like, okay, what can I focus on? That the byproduct of that is where a ton of people come to my website, and like just it happens sort of passively, so I can focus on other stuff. So then I built a music blog, and I wrote about things like music marketing and promotion, and I wrote affiliate style articles like best acoustic guitars. I actually have a blog post on my website about exactly how I did all that. So instead of, going through the details, I'll just link you to that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I learned SEO by building my first website, growing it to 35,000 monthly visitors and $2,000 a month in revenue after about a year. And then I kind of just chilled and played Xbox for 6 months, and
what was your favorite Xbox game?
Oh, dude, I still play Halo all the time. Like every morning I still play Halo. But like I was, making $2,000 a month, and I recently graduated from school, and I was kind of just like, I don't know, living, And then I started.
What was that site that you built?
What was it?
What was the site that you built?
Oh, dosmia.com. It's still up, but I'm probably going to get rid of it soon. A lot of people want to buy it. I guess I leave the information up just because musicians still find it, and then like find it helpful, and they email me. And that's another thing that I learned about content marketing is like, man, my content stays there. Like if you Google how to copyright a song, we're still on the first page, and that's like a 5-year-old article or something.
That's the whole beauty of, it's like renting versus buying.
Yeah. And it's like the reason that worked is because I just put an load of work into that piece on the front end. I was like, I need to make it perfect. I'm going to solve the problem that these people are looking for in Google, and I'm going to go at the top. And then people click the affiliate link to LegalZoom, and I get $200 a month in commission still when I wrote an article 5 years ago, So that's kind of when I learned about, like, when I was literally able to sit in my room and play Xbox all day for 6 months. I'm still making $200 a month on this thing. Yeah. That's kind of how I learned SEO. And I'm like, I started a band, and I was doing that. I learned some Facebook ads through the band and more about marketing, and then I was driving for Uber, because my website tanked after 6 months, and I ran out of money. And I was like, my parents are like, you need to get a job. And I was like, no, I'm not getting a job. Cause I tried working for my uncle for a while, and I don't know. I didn't like the idea of someone tells me what to wear to do my job just because a customer might walk in the office maybe. And I was there for a year, and that never happened, So I was like, that sucks. I don't want to do that again. So I just refused to work for someone. And I was like, no, I'm going to do Uber. I'll figure it out, So I was playing in a band, doing Uber. And then I kind of, my band ran into a place where we were like we're getting pretty popular on Spotify. If you look up the band on Spotify, we have about 500,000 plays. Oh. So it popped off, and we sold out our third show with Facebook ads and by partnering with another band in the area. And we kind of just really pushed that. So I learned about Facebook marketing, driving people in real life to a real life thing. And I learned about marketing on the internet. And it's just like, I don't know, it was really cool. The band thing taught me a lot about like, the humans behind the click. Because like when I was playing a show and I could see how much fun people were having, and I'm like, damn, why don't people just freaking click the Facebook ad? They're all real.
So you're the lead guitarist at Days Gone By?
I left the band and I live in St. Petersburg now, and I'm starting a new music project. But I started the band with the drummer, and then we built the band. We recruited the members.
Yeah.
And we hired a guy to do the artwork who did, the band of Mice and Men and Goldfinger, a lot of like punk and rock bands, and metal bands. So I wanted to really build an image of like, I mean, if you look at the artwork, even it's like just some dude who's so lost. And that's how I felt at the time. I was like, where am I even going,
No, you were still 19 or 20 when you were doing this.
In the band, I think I started that. I mean, I'm 28 now, so I don't know. I was probably like 23, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. It's over a pretty long stretch of time, all this, because that first company was like 4 years of me trying to hire a programmer and them not doing anything. And then I learned how to code and built the app myself.
Yeah.
But that, oh man, it's just this. The learning has been over such a long period of time. It's been just me grinding for the past like 10 years on like figuring out how to do business stuff and build my projects, because I was really stuck for knowledge.
Yeah. Is it still possible for a 19-year-old to follow your path and build a site and get a bunch of traffic today?
I think I probably could have done it if I was like 15. Yeah, still today. If you know the subject matter, that's where I think, this all kind of ties in with the SEO stuff. And people think SEO is a technical job, but it's really becoming more of like this kind of job where it's more about like being persuasive and telling a story and actually like helping people on the internet. So I think there's a crossover in SEO that's eventually going to happen, because everyone's like doing Brian Dean's skyscraper technique. They're always trying to one up each other and make better content, better, but they make better enough. So things are happening really slowly with the development of online content, where it's like, I'm going to be better enough. Oh, we're going to be better enough again and again and again and again. And it's always like, because they're trying to cut the cost. But I try to tell my clients like, dude, let's just go way over the top with it so people get scared and don't want to beat us. You got to scare them away. You got to make it so epic that it's like, you're never going to lose. Because then when you invest in the link building, which is super freaking expensive to pull off, it sticks, like my How to Copyright a Song article 5 years later, still pulls traffic.
Yeah, I see that there. All right, Nick, so let's switch gears and talk about what are the ways that we can use SEO stats to fool people. And let's just go one by one with examples.
Yeah, I want to go with the first one, domain authority, because everyone wants to buy backlinks based on domain authority. And they always, link building contracts always come with something like, the client will ask, can we make sure the links are above a certain domain authority of like 30 or 25? And I'm like, I usually go for over 20 just because, but like if I try to persuade clients to not look too much at that, because it's like, look, if you get on a website with a real human who's trying to grow it, the domain authority is going to rise naturally. But if you try to filter for domain authority on the front end, it can be faked. And the way it can be faked is because people can just own a bunch of websites, link things together. I can use my relationships and maybe hide backlinks. I can buy a bunch of backlinks, and the domain authority will inflate because these are measured by third-party tools like Ahrefs and Moz. So if I build a new domain, buy a ton of backlinks, and they scrape them all, their algorithm will see the value in it, because they don't go as advanced as Google does with that stuff. Google has like, they have a paid link submission form. And I know everyone says it's crap, but I know a lot of link builders that use that, like a lot, where they get a paid link request and then they go, oh, I'm going to report a domain. Like they're reporting the seller. So you have these domains that are already being reported, Google probably already knows about. And then the other buyers are going like, well, how can Google know? I mean, I went through like 6 people. I'm like, dude, go to the other link builder, and then they reported them in Google, like with NerdWallet,
Yeah.
Pretty sure. I think they
sure do. And they come from IP addresses you don't know. So even those private link networks that you think that Google doesn't know, they know, because I set that up 20 years ago at Yahoo, and the people on my team went to go work at Google.
Oh, really? Oh my God. I'm so interested in talking.
That was my job 20 years ago, is busting people trying to trick us at search engines.
Oh, like the paid link stuff?
So I love interviewing people who claim to be pro at SEO and then start asking them questions.
Oh my God, I really want to know about that, because like I always trying to tell clients like, don't do it, man. And like if I'm actually
the search engines know, they know, they normally don't do anything about it, but they know. So
Yeah.
you're right that when you use Moz or SEMrush or Ahrefs, those third-party tools are mechanically calculating how much juice is being passed.
Yeah. And
But
it's like very much based on just very basic data. Google
yeah,
has like the whole internet of data to work with. I'm like, dude, they have the whole internet and they have paid link forms.
mhm.
And I assume when you say they don't do anything, they just count at zero, right? Like instead of doing negative, like, oh, you bought a link, you're bad and punishing you.
Yeah, just like so Google's aware of duplicate content, but there's not a true penalty against it because it's always going to go back to the canonical.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my main site is a DRDA 62, freeebooks.net is a 74. We've got a bunch of sites in the 60s and 70s, which is right up at media sites.
Yeah. And like because if Google just knows about the paid links and they're not counting them towards any actual ranking improvements, but the domain authority looks good, Google's measure of that won't be good. And then you have a backlink that doesn't actually do anything if you bought a domain authority based backlink, because what happens then is I can say as a link builder, well, I fulfilled the contract. I got your domain authority link. And I did, and if you put that kind of stuff in the contract of like those kind of deliverables, then link builders are going to hack it because it's so goddamn hard to get actual backlink.
But I don't think Google cares so much about the backlinks. They care about the traffic and the user experience. So people are ranking on terms that nobody's searching for. They don't really care. So that's why RankBrain with the top 10 results on high power terms are really what matters. So they're looking at the signals that come through Google Analytics, that come from the user behavior, that come from things like clicking back, right? And whether people like things like dwell time, they care about the user experience more than what's in the rank. And the Google Dance, they'll give you that position that's maybe you're in position 20 and they'll jump you to position 10 on the first page and let you sort of audition there for a little while. And if the user behavior is bad because of the clickbacks or because of dwell time, they'll put you back at 20. But if you're good, they'll keep moving you up.
Yeah,
so how it should be determined. So that does
I
make
experienced
sense.
this firsthand. I always say built. I always talk about content like I build it. I never say wrote because it's like videos and graphics and stuff, But I built this article where it was supposed to be the best beginner guitars, and everyone else is kind of just like listing guitars off the stats. And I'm like, I did it differently. I did a survey. I reached out to all of YouTube's best guitar teachers, like the most popular ones, and I said, I got a website with like 20K a month in traffic. If you guys just put a little snippet, I'll link to your channel. And it's going out to beginner guitar players, right? So they did it. And that thing ranked number one with 0 backlinks, as you'll probably see in the startup SEO article I send you. It ranked number one with no backlinks. And I was like, holy crap, how? And I don't know. I still don't know how Google works. No one
They're looking at signals beyond links. They're looking at traffic.
They're like, wow, people
They're looking at social. They claim they don't look at social. They absolutely look at social.
They probably do, yeah. Or the social at least has a byproduct impact somewhere else on something they look at. So it may be true that they don't actually look at it, but there may be something else that they do look at that's influenced by social.
It drives traffic.
Media can influence what people search for. So there's probably that. Like what's trending too online. They probably have, they have Google Trends. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud now.
Yeah, I mean, it ties in with things like people also ask, which is another way of getting at what used to be the wonder wheel, which they took away.
Yeah.
Or anything related to LSA, right? Latent semantic indexing. Or LSI. Yeah. And the other thing too on the domains that mechanically would pass juice but don't count for Google is that you used to be able to do Google bowling, right? You know what that is?
Google bowling? No, what's that?
Bowling is when you buy a bunch of crap links for a competitor to try to hurt them.
Oh, negative SEO. Yeah. I think people did that to my site, honestly, because I have a lot of coupon links now for my old blog, Bosnia. It's got a lot of coupon links, and I'm like, what is going on? And I saw a ranking drop on my content, but
so enough people are getting hurt by SEOs that are trying to bowl or do negative SEO against competitors that they don't hurt those other folks quite as much. So most people don't know how to do a disavow request, right?
I do like what I call white hat negative SEO. So when I do Brian Dean's skyscraper technique, like a pretty modified version though, to be honest. Like we do a lot of warming up and a lot of like relationship development pre-outreach. When a site comes back and says, oh, it's $100, we just report the domain to Google. Like it's a part of our SOPs to do that. Yeah. So it pushes our competitors buying backlinks down, and it is working. I just can't give you a case study because the client doesn't want me to talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you don't want to rat on them, but
Yeah,
I think you're doing the right thing. That is definitely something people argue about, whether you should tattle on other SEOs, and I think you should.
I think you should if they're doing shit.
Yeah.
Like if they're trying to leverage, I just don't believe that money should give you an extra advantage, when it comes to like, I just see the internet as like a gateway to free information. And
Yeah.
I think in the future it's going to replace like education because I mean, about my point earlier about the skyscraper stuff with one-upping content, I think eventually it's going to get to the point where it's so good that it's like education is free on the internet. We don't need universities anymore for a lot of stuff.
Well, you need universities not for the information, but for the mentorship and the accountability and the structure.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can go to YouTube and get anything you want, right? It's not like at Harvard, like, well, we're going to teach you stuff that you can't get anywhere else. That's not true. It's relationships and it's accountability.
I guess I didn't get that much out of college then because I just kind of went to class and then went home and studied and did the exams and kind of just like, I didn't have a lot. I lived at home still too. So I don't know. I think you're right about that though.
Yeah. People hate on university, which is a whole nother topic, but that those people don't understand what it's about. You're right. Information should be free. And SEO, by definition, should not include paid, not just because it's the terms of service of what Google has, but I think it's fundamentally wrong to pay for links because it's like paying for a girlfriend or a wife. Like you wouldn't pay for sex, right?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's almost, it's because
it's just like wrong. Everything's wrong when it's driven by the money.
Because you artificially are trying to push yourself to the top instead of, my approach, which is I assume Google uses backlinks as a signal of trust. So I'm like, okay, we want to get links from legit, just good websites that talk about this stuff in a way that's helpful to users, because if they just are, it's almost like we want to aim for the sites that are behaving in the way that Google likes. And we got to convince them to link to us. How do you do that? Well, no one really knows. You just got to figure it out per business. It's a lot of like guest posting and, there's generic outreach campaigns you can run like skyscraper and resources and stuff. But at the end of the day, when you're going to scale way up, you got to get pretty creative with your outreach campaigns and like, piece together some crazy stuff.
You do if you don't have industry connections. But if you want to rank on certain keywords in a certain industry and you develop relationships with people in that industry, which then flows into conferences and their websites and their email list and their social and their YouTube and all that, those are going to generate signals that Google can see that have nothing to do with outreach campaigns.
That's so true. It's like a lot of trust signals and everything. Yeah.
It's building relationships. So that's why SEO has morphed into PR and social media and content creation and things that are not technical, to your initial point.
That is so true. And even the outreach is based on developing the relationship before you even freaking reach out. Or pitching.
So it's not even outreach at that point. Well, anyone who's a competitor is actually a friend because you're going to link to each other because you both share expertise. Just like I interview a ton of people in the analytics and social space. Yeah, we all rate, between me and my friends, we dominate the first page of every single term in social media marketing or digital marketing. But I'm not trying to beat them because they're linking to me and I'm linking to them.
Yeah, it's kind of like I saw a study about that with like how the top. It's like Mashable and TechCrunch and Copyblogger all linked to each other a lot in the beginning, and that helps them grow.
Yeah,
like shared authority or whatever. So
it's syndication.
Yeah, there's definitely an impact there, and it's almost like it's kind of a link network, but it's not in a bad way. It's like
it's not being paid for, and it's natural, and it's not being linked on the anchor text of what you're trying to rank on.
Yeah, well, it might
all these ways you can tell. Google has all these ways to tell when people are trying to fake their way in the links.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah. It's just got to be all natural now.
Yeah. All right, cool. Nick, what else?
Well, I think also if domain authority can be hacked, so can page authority, right? With the internal links and the link buying to direct pages that can be hacked. But the other one, people go, okay, well, if not domain authority, then traffic. Okay, but who measures traffic? Oh, Ahrefs and, Moz and SimilarWeb, I guess. All these other outside tools, so they can be faked. Because if I want to fake it, I just have to figure out how it works. And then when I figure out how it works, I can manipulate the data going into it. So with Ahrefs, they use like the way they calculate their traffic numbers is based on, a combination of the search volume and their click-through rate studies of Google listings, right? So most people click the top, therefore they assume that gets the most traffic. So if I rank for something at number 10, but they get 100 million searches a month, like Disney Plus login, it's like Disney's going to rank, but then if I rank on page 2 or 3, because it gets so many searches per month, Ahrefs and these tools are going to assume, with their algorithms that some of the traffic goes my way. That's just not the case. So with these websites, they can artificially inflate their organic traffic metrics at the domain level by building out all these crappy pages for just like random keywords that have insane search volume and low difficulty.
Yeah. The thing is, if you don't have much authority and you build out these pages for high traffic terms, why would that even matter? Like, you couldn't even get the traffic in the first place, right?
Yeah, you'll be on page 3
against the topics that you're trying to rank on.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be on page 3 and then no one will click it, but it's like you get the number that sells it to the link buyers, So then people buying backlinks are like, oh, this will look good to my client, because they just want to fulfill the order. It's kind of like a McDonald's worker who's just like, dude, I just got to give this guy a sandwich. Because people put so much pressure on link builders, to hit these numbers. And they're like, dude, I just can't do it. There's no outreach technique in the world to get $100 backlink. Unless you pay the guy like, I don't know, $15 an hour or something, but who knows how to do link building at that level? You know what I mean? The right way. If it's like PR focused and stuff.
Yeah. And it's going back to quality versus just quantity, which is what you're saying.
Yeah. It's like, if it takes, $1,000, $2,000 of time to develop the right relationship to get the backlink that you need, then so be it. Right.
And thus, is it possible to do SEO in an area where you don't have any subject matter expertise and you don't have any relationships?
Well, I think so. I mean, if you have money, because then you could hire for subject matter expertise and hire for relationships. So the way I hire for relationships, I'll give you a good example. My music streaming service, I wanted to pair it with cell phone subscriptions because I wanted music to be free. I was like, dude, I want everyone to listen to music forever for all the time and not have to pay for it. And then whenever a show in their town happens, they get a little ding on their phone and can buy a ticket. Because I was a musician, I didn't care about the 1 penny, tenth of a penny per play stream. I'm like, I want someone to come to my show and have a good time and buy a t-shirt or something. You know? So with that, I mean, when I was building the music service, I definitely had a musician mindset going in, but I knew I was like, okay, I got to get to like C-level executives at Verizon and T-Mobile and AT&T. How do I do that? Well, I found this lawyer who knew this guy who got me into this event in Dallas where I met the CPO of Verizon, and she introduced me to the person who did the NFL deal. And I literally just so I hired my lawyer. I was like, I have to hire this lawyer because he has that relationship. Right. And then I asked him to introduce me to that guy. I'm like, look, I just want to tell him about my idea. He's in the telecom industry. Maybe he'll like it, whatever. So I talked to him and he for 2 hours because he's like, dude, Spotify's going to beat you, blah, like everyone was. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, I mean, can I just tell them about it? I was like, I know you think it's crap, but I really want to put my time in this and I just need the next step. And, I just asked for help. I was like, I just want to try and pitch this to someone at T-Mobile or Verizon or whatever. Mm-hmm. What is there anything you can do to help me? And he's like, well, I don't think so right now. And then I kind of was like, oh man, that sucks. So I went away. And then he emailed me a month later saying hey, I actually can get you into this event. Mm-hmm. You want to go? It's in Dallas. I can get you the ticket for free. It's like $1,000, but you have to buy the plane ticket. And I was like, oh my God. So I called my parents and I'm like, Mom, I need money for a plane ticket right now. So I didn't even have I didn't have any nice clothes or whatever. So unfortunately I went in jeans and a hoodie. It was interesting because I stood out. Everyone thought I was a student because I'm out of university. And because I was attending the events, they thought I was smart, I guess. So I was just attending the events about they had stuff on the connected car at the time. It was they were talking about how they're going to put Wi-Fi in the car. And I was like, this is so perfect to pitch music. It's so perfect. It was such a perfect, so I pitched music. I went to the head of, it was the chief privacy officer of Verizon Wireless at the time. And I just told her, I made a horrible pitch. I was young, Yeah. So I made a horrible 30-second pitch that was mumbled all over the place. And look, I'm building this cool app and I want to put it on your phone and put it in cars. And I think it could help you upsell subscriptions to people where if they have a phone, they'll want to buy your internet car plan because they have the music app on a Verizon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I pitched kind of like that, messy. And she understood it because she was a good listener. Yeah. So she took my poor language and was like, okay, you got to talk to this dude who does the deal with, he did the deal with the NFL. It was a Verizon NFL pass or something. I finally got in touch with him and then it fell apart because I couldn't, but I guess the main point is working the introductions all the way through is a good, I probably did all of that in 3 months, so that's kind of starting from nothing and trying to go and develop relationships. You can do it, I think building relationships is all about just figuring out what you can do for the other person. Kind of like I learned that really young because my mom, when I was younger, I really wanted a GameCube. I played Super Smash Bros. With my friends and I was like, Mom, I really want a GameCube. And she said no. And I was like, why? And she just said, I just don't want you to like not do your homework. No. And then I kept trying to convince her and she was like, okay, fine. I'll let you try to convince me, but I don't know. I just really don't want you to have it. So I kept coming back. Eventually I said, look, I'm already spending this time playing with Legos. What if I just put video games in that? And then I don't know, I made some weird argument that convinced her. And then I bought the GameCube. And then I had to buy a TV. That took a lot of saving up. But yeah, I just learned how to think about like, why does my mom not want me to have a GameCube right now? And it really got me as a child to step into my mom's shoes, like her perspective, and that's something I learned a lot about developing relationships and of any kind. It's just about like, listening and understanding the other person, because a lot of people suck at listening. So if you could just do that, you have a way in. But then like when I say something and you're like, oh my God, I could totally help with that, then just freaking do it, You don't have to do something to help them. You just have to be a human, you know what I mean? Like just talk to them and have fun, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned also playing shows. Like a lot of people came out to the concerts just to have fun. They were like entrepreneurs there, or like there was a doctor there, a lawyer, and then there were a bunch of teenage kids just moshing, So it was awesome. It was just like a big family. And it's like, damn, everyone just wants to have a good time in life, And I think if you can just give that and just give like kindness and listening, then that's enough to develop relationships. That was a very long speech, but yeah, that's kind of what I learned a lot of that over a very long period of time. And that's kind of how my brain pieced it together. I don't know if it's correct, but that's what I'm running on right now.
Nick, I think you're right on the ball. So SEO is really about building relationships and delivering value and a great experience, like you just mentioned. And that eventually translates when you went from your lawyer to the CPO at Verizon to the NFL contact, those are links. And sometimes you have to build by being in person. You have to go to that concert or that event. You have to do the podcast. Those are building relationships is building links. And then the way it eventually gets seen by Google is that results in you are on a website where they notice it and they may or may not link to you. They see you so Google, I think, has the best facial recognition. So they can read in the images and see who you're with and see who those other people are. In the same way, we're looking at websites that link to one another. In 2022, it's not 20 years ago, it was just websites. So when we're measuring who's connected to each other, it was the links between websites that were made by webmasters. Now, when people tweet about something or they post a picture on Snapchat or TikTok, or whatever, I believe those are links too, because it's showing the connectedness between any individuals and any organization, because it's not just websites anymore. There's all these other things, and the search engine has to go beyond just websites. So all the things that you're doing to build these relationships, to get your app going, to get traffic, to get distribution, I believe are all part of what could be called SEO, but I consider the combination of social media and PR and word of mouth and all these other things about just trying to create value for a community, which then eventually the search engines will see. So I think you're right on. But most SEOs think that this is some technical thing, or most people who want SEO think that it's just about buying links, which is the engines are getting so smart that they can see through that behavior.
Yeah, I like to take an approach of SEO where like I don't aim at, my target isn't trick Google. My target is help Google's users the best, That's
what Google said for years, right?
Yeah, and that's why if you chase that objective with them, it's not going to be a problem. You're not going to have these ranking, dunks that happen.
Every time they improve the algorithm and they shut down the loophole you were using.
Yeah, exactly. There's always some freaking loophole that people are trying to exploit. But if you just don't, it'll work out way better.
That's why we don't do any of those things, right? I hear about them all the time. I know what most of them are. I've shut most of them down in the last 20 years by spotting them and having our team spot these folks, right?
Yeah.
What other hacks are there that folks need to be aware of, Nick?
There's a lot of like AI content writing going around, and I don't know if there's hacks, but there's a lot of people that, are just really good at selling because they know the subject matter, but I haven't put it together yet. But for some reason, it's like the content's not there for a lot of the agencies I've seen, and I can't exactly piece together why. It's just that it's almost like they fulfill the checklist.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I guess the way I would spot an SEO agency that doesn't care about your business is like, how checklist are they versus how like, well, I don't know. Let's see. Like, because I don't know, let's see is the correct answer,
Right.
especially if it's a new website. It's like a client might come to me and say, well, where do you think we can get in a year with 4,000 a month? And I'm like, I have no freaking idea, dude, because there's no history. Like, we got it. Let's work together for 3 months and build data and see.
Right.
Let's put up some content and, promote it a little bit and see what happens. And then, we can figure out what we should do going forward. But like, I still haven't also figured out the answer of how to, I still haven't figured out how to forecast an SEO budget with any amount of accuracy because
You
it's always
can't.
like crazy different.
You
Yeah.
can't unless you can figure out what the cost is to extend what's already working. So if they're
Yeah.
already getting traffic, you can it's like renting a car before you're deciding to buy it. So you can buy those keywords on Google and then you know what it's worth and whether it converts. And if you like it, you test drive it, right? Then you can put in the effort to rank for it organically.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's always the best approach, right? Because how do you know if a keyword's really any good unless you can demo it and actually run traffic on that term?
Yeah. And my approach is like, I like to use like blog content a lot.
Mhm.
And, if I just rank for things that I think my audience, I just focus on my customers. Like for my own SEO, I'm just like, what are my customers asking? What is
Yeah.
it that like, what do I get on a sales call and they don't understand? Because that's the blog content that I create and it ranks
Yeah.
really fast. Like we already
Yeah.
rank for ASO backlinks at number 2. And it's because I think that just answers the question in such a direct and helpful way. Like it doesn't even have backlinks, it just ranks.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just, I don't know, the content portion of SEO is very interesting and hard to explain. And I think that that's an often misunderstood concept of like, oh, if I like I it's hard for me to like step into the shoes of a client here because I never thought of it like this. But what it seems to be is that clients seem to think if I publish more content about this topic, then this page over here will rank higher as a result. Because this is so like if I have a client that targets CBD oil, they're like,
Mhm.
oh, well, let's publish more CBD content because we want to rank for CBD oil. And it's not really how it works, because it's like, well, if you want to rank for CBD oil, you need to build that page, for that keyword. And then maybe have supporting content, but it's all going to be really strategic, you know? Maybe you publish case studies and statistics roundups so that you
Mhm.
market your content to journalists and attract backlinks,
Yeah.
or you attract content that you build, I don't know, linkable assets, infographics, stuff that other people can use in their content, that gets the backlinks, that helps your website. So it's got to be strategic. And I think a lot of content farms sell 2,500 word blog posts because that's the
Yeah.
number of words you need to rank at the top, right? And it's like, okay, is
Yeah.
it engaging and does it actually help the reader? Is that piece of content good for that keyword, right? Does it fulfill search intent? But if I say search intent, then they don't get it. So I got to figure out other ways to say it. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I think a lot of people get. I don't know if it's really scammed. I just think it's like the buyer and the seller don't really know the value of the content as far as SEO. Like I think they really both just don't understand. And the buyer and seller are both buying and selling content on this sort of hope of this other page is going to go up. And I don't know how to stop that because it's like, I don't really know if anyone's actually the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like I think
Sure. The way you stop it is you have measurement based on the business result. So if you're trying to rank on CBD oil, then you can see how much traffic comes in organically that results in a sale. So it doesn't matter how many checklists you have, how many articles you have, right? The agency could say, I'm going to produce 100 articles per month, but if it doesn't drive rankings that turn into traffic, that turn into sales, then it's garbage, right? So the reason why people are so misinformed on the client side and on the agency side is because they're looking at things that are other than the actual business result.
I think that's the problem I have is like I build a dashboard for clients where I'm like, look, it shows traffic and conversions. And then they're like, yeah, but I want to see where my money's going. And I'm like, I mean, it's going to the time to do the work. Like, I don't understand, so I think I
Yeah, it's
struggle.
time. It's not buying the links. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I struggle with that as an agency owner going like, well, what do you want? Like they ask for a report and I'm like, I built you this live dashboard with literally everything and they still ask for.
They shouldn't have to ask you if they're the right client and you've trained them right and you've set the right expectations. The way they tell is they log into their Google Analytics or they log into their Shopify that has conversion tracking enabled and they can see exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and then they just
right?
wait for my monthly updates.
Yeah.
I mean, I send
And
monthly
they
updates.
can use the SEO tools to see where the links are coming from. They can see what pages are doing well. They can see what the related searches are, right? So if I wanted to rank on CBD oil, which is a head term, I'd have all the related terms on the best CBD oil and the CBD oil work, and can you get high on CBD oil and what's the price of it, and all the related terms. I build a whole tree around it. I'd have universal search content. So I'd have YouTube, videos and articles and tweets and news. I have all different kinds of content. I'd have different kinds of snippets in place, and I'd see where that traffic comes in on, right? I build relationships with other people that rank on the terms and try to co-create content with these other people. So I send authority signals. And anyone who's a client should well enough know, they don't have to be an SEO, but they need to know this concept we're talking about, this strategy well enough to be able to tell whether what you're doing is actually working.
Yeah, I think a lot of clients don't understand the amount of time it takes to report. Like
reporting should take no time at all.
Yeah,
reporting, it happens in all the dashboards. What tool? You named several of the SEO tools. My favorite is SEMrush, but I use all of them. Yeah, they all have reporting built in.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, when I've tried to send reports to clients, they're kind of like, well, wait, what am I looking at? And
they don't read the reports. They ask for it. They don't read it. They don't know how to interpret it. And it's not even, and the agencies don't even know how to use the report, because they just hit export and the tool sends out this 30-page thing that has their logo at the top. I've talked to hundreds of SEO agencies. They have no idea how to interpret the data.
That's insane, because I feel like I'm trying really hard to build reports where me and the client can together interpret the data.
That's a waste of time. That's a disaster.
Really?
You think let's say that you have a car and you go to the dealer, right? And let's say you're not one of those people that likes to work on cars. Like, you just want to drive your car. You just want the car to work, right? And then the dealer says, hey, I want to be fully transparent. I want to take you into the repair bay and take apart the engine and show you how different parts of the engine work.
No, none of that. I'm not saying give them all the details. I'm saying like high enough level where it's like, hey, here's 3 different directions we go. Which one do you want to put the money into right now? So
they should not make that. Let's say you went to a surgeon, right? And you needed to get some kind of brain operation. And the surgeon asked you, so Nick, do you think I should use this kind of scalpel or this kind of scalpel for this brain surgery we're going to do on you?
I guess I consider it more like plastic surgery then, where it's like, what kind of nose do you want?
I think it goes back to the client. The client should define what the business goal is. So it's CBD oil. Great. What's the goal? I want to sell more CBD oil. Okay, awesome. Let's look at what's driving the most sales now. Let's look at what these customers are saying. Let's make sure we're recording Zoom calls. Let's capture feedback at the events. Let's look at the site traffic. Let's look at what the community's saying, right? Which is something you have to do. That's independent of SEO. That's just general business strategy. Without the general business strategy in place, it doesn't matter how good you are at building relationships and links and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's nothing to do with reports, and it's nothing to do with showing the client what the different components of SEO are. So true. Even if they're hiring you to do SEO, you still have to cover business strategy.
I guess I'm trying to understand why they ask for it then. I mean, are they trying to,
because they have no other way of trying to figure out whether you're doing anything or not. That's the best way they know how to ask, but that they don't know how to ask the right question. So you have to tell the client, you have to preempt them. Because if I don't know anything about SEO and I'm hiring you to do SEO, then I'm going to ask, well, how many links did you build? And can you prepare some report and tell me how many first page rankings I have? And those are all garbage things.
Yeah, that's so true. Those are all the questions.
But it's on you. If you are the expert and you're delivering the service and the client tries to go in these random directions because they don't know how to hold you accountable, you have to preempt them by telling them, this is how you measure what I'm doing. You measure me according to your business results, which is obviously sales. And then you trace the sales all the way back to the activities that you have. And then people understand, oh, the reason why it's a long-term investment is not because we don't know what changes Google's going to make in the algorithm. It's because we're creating content relationships that eventually results in rankings, that results in traffic, and then traffic turns into sales. And so we can measure this all the way through in Google Analytics and Shopify and all that if we set up the tracking.
That is such a good way to explain it.
And SEO people don't do that. Why? Because they're so into the tools. The tools allow this export of these reports, which prepare this 30-page report that goes out every month that's automatic. So, and then they scale their SEO company to where they have lots and lots of clients for their agency. And then the founder, like you, is good at SEO and creates content, is well-meaning, but then has all these other people that are just employees that don't really care all that much, that just want to punch the card and do the checklist every month. Not that they're bad people, but they just do the checklist and they have no regard for the business result because it was never captured. It was never clarified. And the employees that work on the agency's team never cared about the client to begin with because they just have a job.
Yeah.
And the net result is the business owner gets scammed unintentionally.
Yeah, I had to work really hard to build a team that's motivated for the clients. That was really hard.
How often do the employees at the SEO agency actually understand the business objective of the client?
Almost always. I mean, we write it front and center, and we have a document called a campaign dump, and it has at the top objective, and it's like a 1-sentence statement of what we're trying to do, like what the client is and what they sell and why what we're doing impacts their business in the long term. So everyone
has to be a measurable sales number, and that sales number has to be trackable inside the Google Analytics or whatever tool or the SEO tool, so that when they're building links and writing content, they can see the direct impact of what they're doing.
We have a live
sales impact of what they're doing.
Yeah, we have a live dashboard for every client that everyone can look at, and it's attached to all that. Well, as long as the client has Google Analytics set up, but usually we help them, with that when we onboard.
So that's rare what you're doing. Then that's absolutely key, because how many conversion tracking, right? Or setting up Google Tag Manager. They don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I have to consult them. That's why, whenever I take on a client, I always bundle it with like free consulting, because I'm like, dude, I just want to like set you up. So I usually jump in with the client myself with technical consulting, and I explain like, look, we just need to be able to see that. So, and I have a technical guy if he has to jump in, but usually I just have to talk to their developer and they just totally understand me because I know how to write code and stuff. So I can just be like, dude,
that's absolutely key what you're doing there. Everyone should be doing that.
Yeah. I don't know why they're not. I mean, tracking sales, how are they going to pay me more? Like if they don't make more money,
They're just focusing on SEO because the agency says, well, I just do SEO, so I'm just going to do SEO things. But I would argue you can't do SEO unless you're tracking sales, which means you have to set up a strategy and know like, oh, I want to sell more CBD oil. Okay, great. What kind of margin?
Makes sense. And that's what I feel like I try to tell that to some clients and they kind of bring it back to, well, yeah, but we do need the backlinks, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it's a whole thing. It's like a whole.
So a bad client is going to ask you within the first 48 hours, okay, how many links are you building? And every week say, how many more links did you build?
Yeah, that's the kind of client
focusing on sales. You focus on the sales and go all the way back instead of I just need links.
Yeah. And
that's either a bad client that you shouldn't have taken on, or one where you didn't set the expectations of what SEO is.
Yeah. Or I just did a poor job making sure they understood what I was talking about beforehand. Because sometimes I get on a sales call and then I feel like the clients get excited at the end of the sales call and they're like, oh my God, dude, I'm in how much? $4,000 a month. Okay. And then they buy it. And then 1 month later, they're like,
yeah,
oh, this is it. And I'm like, I thought you understood everything, but it's like, they're like too afraid to ask me to verify what I'm saying. So maybe I just need to ask, make it more clear up front what's happening sometimes.
So you need to make it more clear because you're right. Most agency owners, when the client's like, okay, yeah, $4,000 a month. Awesome. Let's do it. Here's my credit card or whatever. And you should take the money, but only after you show what your onboarding process is and show how the investment of $4,000 a month turns into something that is more than $4,000 a month, even though you can't make a promise and say, well, the $4,000 a month you're putting in is going to result in 20 a month within 60 days or something. Like you can't say that, but you can say, here's what the factors are. Here's what we're going to do. And most importantly, Nick, here's what we need from you, right? This is a partnership. We're going to do this set of things. And we're counting on you to do this set of things. Like we need access to your website and your web guy is going to have to do this stuff. We need you to produce this kind of content. We need you to refer us to these other sites that you have or relationships that you have. So we can tie everything together. And if we can't agree to do these things, we're not going to do our part, right?
Yeah, we have an onboarding form. We just send them a link and it's like, they give us an email address at their domain. They give us access to Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and their CMS.
That's great, but the onboarding form is necessary, but it's not enough.
Yeah, I like to try to make it hands off for them. So it's like, look, you just have to read the report.
Yeah. So the form, the form to get access and all that, that's certainly one layer. That's a basic necessary layer. But on top of that, do you have a 10-minute video for, welcoming a new client, explaining what your process is? It doesn't replace the onboarding call, but it's something that they should watch prior to the call with you.
I don't have a video. Usually I send blog posts that explain things prior to selling. Like usually in my initial kind of, discussion with the client, I'll say, hey, here's a blog post about, that pretty much details our exact process. whatever campaign we're doing, sometimes they just want to buy guest posting, right? So we just say, here's
Right.
exactly how we do it. And then we just show them a blog post about how we do it. And then I'm like, if you like it, let's go. And then they can just buy it quickly,
Yeah. Well, I would encourage you to take that and publish it. And a lot of these SEO people, oh, that's a secret. I don't want to let
I already
anyone
did
know.
that. Yeah, it's on my
All
blog,
right.
guest
Yeah.
posting outreach. It actually
Yeah,
ranked in
perfect.
Google for actually coming back to what you said about Google testing stuff. If you Google guest post outreach, it's in the news snippet, and it started in that little like new content section or whatever. I don't remember what it's called. It's like it's like new discoveries, I think, or something on the internet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we were showing up there, and we were nowhere to be found elsewhere. But then a few days later, we're in the page 1 of the SERPs.
Yeah.
That keyword, guest post outreach. That's a pretty tough keyword, And I'm like, it got there with just building it and making the website really fast and epic and beautiful and easy to use, everywhere. It really is just about focusing on the user. And it's weird that so many website owners don't do that enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, any final thoughts, words of wisdom?
Don't buy backlinks.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Rubright, everybody, pro at SEO. Thank you for covering all these SEO hacks that agencies and clients need to know. Appreciate you, my man.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was fun.